Welcome back, everyone. Coming off our conversation on back to school, this morning we're talking with 2016's National Teacher of the Year, who is also Connecticut's Congresswoman from the 5th District. Jahana Hayes is joining us this morning. Congresswoman, thank you very much for taking a few minutes to be with us today.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
As a former teacher, I want to ask you to put that hat back on for a second, because obviously students here in Connecticut, as well as teachers, are getting ready to go back to school now in just a matter of weeks. How do you think it's going to look for them with COVID? Certainly going to be a challenging year yet again, right?
It absolutely will be a challenging year. And I think that there are going to be a lot of even newer challenges this year. And that's why I fought so hard last year when we were passing the American Rescue Plan to get local school districts the help that they needed. I think that they can do it, but they can't do it without support. We have funding for preventative screening and testing so that teachers and students can get tested. I get so excited when I see school districts with signs up that say they're hiring nurses or support staff, because those are the types of things that we're going to need to reopen schools safely. And all of that was provided by the American Rescue Plan.
It's interesting when you talk about this, because I think a lot of people thought that when they went back to school this fall, things would be different, perhaps better. And now it almost looks like we're moving in the opposite direction.
Well, I knew it wouldn't be. I mean, when this time last year, when we were having negotiations, I was urging leadership and my colleagues to think about what the school year looked like and how we would respond to outbreaks or closures, because I knew that this would be a long process. So we just have to be ready and anticipate that there may be bumps in the road, but give local districts the supports that they need to reopen safely.
Our positivity rate here in Connecticut has been ticking back up slowly over the past few weeks or so. I know your husband had COVID. We also spoke approximately a year ago, I think, when you yourself had COVID. What do you say to people right now who have not been vaccinated or who are maybe saying they do not want that vaccine?
Well, vaccine is the best preventative measure that we have. I hear so many people saying they don't want to go back to a full lockdown or they don't want to wear masks. You have to make a choice about what it is you're willing to do. Either be tested constantly and wear a mask and socially distance all the time, or get vaccinated to protect yourself and people in the community. I think the longer it takes for us to reach herd immunity, or more people being vaccinated, the longer we'll have to deal with this virus and different variants and strains. I mean, the science doesn't lie to us. As we find out new information, it may change, but we have to be willing to listen to that information and respond accordingly as we receive it.
You were pretty sick, if I remember correctly, right? This is not the flu, I would imagine you would say.
It is not the flu. My breathing was labored in a way that I did not anticipate, and I consider myself a very healthy adult. So it was definitely scary for me. So I don't take this lightly. I am probably overly cautious at this point because I don't want anyone to experience what I experienced, or just how nervous my family was. My husband and I had COVID at different times. So my family had to deal with this on 2 different occasions, and what that looked like, being out of work, getting our son, someone to take care of our son, getting our family just the supports that we needed. That was a really scary scenario to have gone through on 2 different occasions.
I want to ask you now some news from Washington, D.C. this week, the Senate coming together for what appears to be that infrastructure plan. What are your thoughts on this, and what could this mean for us here in Connecticut?
Well, I am eagerly anticipating the final text of the infrastructure plan. I'm excited that we're taking it up. When I got elected in 2018, that was the #1 priority of both Republicans and Democrats. I was very optimistic about getting an infrastructure plan on the table and out the door because we need it. We're seeing roads, bridges, collapse, just a crumbling and eroding infrastructure. So I'm excited that the Senate is taking this up. I anticipate we'll get called back into session in order to vote on it. Here in Connecticut, I think that we will benefit greatly. I mean, in my district alone, outside of the infrastructure package, I was able to secure funding for, a bridge in Goshen, for a water treatment system in Cornwall, for an intersection in Brookfield. So we are always thinking of infrastructure top of mind. But I am so excited about broadband for the northwest corner of my state, of my district. Clean school buses. There's text and languages in this plan that will address that. So it's not just roads, bridges, highways, but our airport will get some upgrades. Our rail system that will see upgrades. So it will mean a lot for the state of Connecticut, especially when we have so many infrastructure needs that are urgent and need to be addressed.
Obviously, a lot more on that to come in the coming days from Washington. Also, in D.C. over the past several weeks, there's been a lot of talk about the hearings and, of course, what happened back in January with the attack at the Capitol. And then we got news late in the week that a police officer, another one, had committed suicide. What we're seeing happen there with this investigation, where do you see this going? Do you see there being any kind of conclusion here that perhaps would be considered bipartisan at this point?
Actually, we got news of 2 officers who died by suicide. So there is no choice. We have to come to a conclusion on this investigation. At the very least, we need to figure out what happened and ensure it doesn't happen again. Those officers, all of them that testified, asked for mental health supports. They asked for funding so that the department could be at full capacity and they could have the emergency equipment that they need. They talked about how their equipment failed them on January 6th and how there were serious security breaches. We have to address those things, Republicans, Democrats alike. We cannot turn our backs on these officers who made sure that every member of Congress made it home safely on January 6th. This was an attack on our democracy, the likes that we've never seen before. I think we have a responsibility to figure out what happened and make sure we address it.
It's never too soon, I guess, to talk about the next election. We recently interviewed a challenger for you, Republican George Logan, said he is running for your seat in Congress. Why should the folks in your district vote for you again? What do you see happening over the next year or so for your district here in Connecticut?
Well, I think I have a strong record of delivering for this district. The people in Connecticut's 5th district, where I have lived and worked my entire life, had the opportunity to review my record, and they overwhelmingly elected me just a few short months ago. And I've been working so hard to deliver for the state. The relief that we're feeling right now is a direct result of the work that I've been doing. If you remember, by this time in 2019, I had already had a declared challenger, and several more popped up by then. Who can forget Robert F. Hyde? So there's a process, and I look forward to letting the process play out. The Republicans will have a nominee, and then I will engage in a robust campaign season. But right now, I think that my job is just to legislate and to continue to deliver for the people in this district. And I look forward to next steps. But I think that people should reelect me because I've delivered and I continue to deliver. A declared challenger doesn't change my path. I knew I'd have to work for this seat every single time. It is no surprise that I have to continue to do that, and I'm prepared for it and fully prepared to let my work speak for itself when I enter the next campaign cycle, the next election cycle.
Okay, Congresswoman Jahana Hayes, thank you so much for joining us this week. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
And that is CT 21 for this week. CBS Sunday Morning is coming up next. Have a great week and a great rest of your weekend. Eric Parker returns to Studio A coming up next Sunday morning, and I'll see you this week right here on Eyewitness News.
Channel 3 Eyewitness News. Watch us live wherever you are on our mobile, on our streaming news app. And you can also watch us on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV.